Coach, I'm wondering a little bit about Dominic Overby. I was seeing his state track records and athleticism background. How do you see that show up in what his ability to do on the field?
Yeah, there's not many times you see guys that are just shy of 6'5" that are running 10.5s. So that length, that speed is something that we got to utilize and something we've continued to utilize through camp and just find different mismatches for him, whether it's in the slot or whether it's on a smaller corner or whatever it may be, just trying to find ways that we can move him around and he'd be a matchup nightmare for us.
How did he get here from West Jordan, Utah? What's his journey like, and anything you can share about that?
Yeah, I got to give a lot of credit to our recruiting staff, Trent Slatnow. We were looking for a big body receiver my first year here, and man, Trent found a guy in Utah, went out there, and he was getting under recruited. No one was recruiting him. He was getting a couple track offers here and there, and he really wanted to play football, and just found like a great fit for us. And he's done a tremendous job in that room as a young guy that got some snaps last year and is growing in the offense and learning multiple positions. So, man, we're excited about him.
6'5", like that athletic? Why wasn't he getting maybe the football looks that people maybe thought?
Yeah, that's kind of why we worked our way out there, is you kind of felt like that area was a little under-recruited. And maybe people were trying to come back late on him and nothing were to happen. So it worked out well for us. He had a great senior year in a program that did a good job his senior year. So coming from a good program, good area, great kid, great background, so it just fits us as Cyclones.
Noah, Chase and Xavier have obviously garnered most of the buzz during the offseason, but what other wide receivers have shown tremendous growth and promise during fall camp and offseason?
Yeah, I think this whole group has done a really good job. Obviously losing a lot of production from last year, all these guys understand what is at stake at this room and that there's competition in the room. And every single guy from spring ball to this point in time and going into practice 5 of fall camp has either changed their body physically or have come a long way mentally. And that's what we need to do. I think we got a really, really deep room. A couple guys that have stood out early. Brett Eskilson's done a great job. Continued from spring. Eli Green's done a really good job. Carson Brown's done a really good job. And, of course, the 2 guys you mentioned have done a great job as well. So it's a deep room. I'm excited about all these guys. Feel like we have a group of guys that we can probably rotate a little more than we did last year and keep guys a little more fresh.
Yeah, kind of going off that, last year, obviously the receiving production was very top-heavy with those 2 standouts. Do you feel like it'll be more essential to just spread it out a bit more this year?
I think it'll help us. I think those guys obviously gained a lot of attention. And I think you look also just out of the receiver room, look at the tight end room. I mean, we've got Ben Bramer back that's healthy and Gabe Burkle that's done a tremendous job. And they got a lot of young guys in that room that are coming along and playing some really, really good football. So we feel like we can be really multiple personnel-wise, just of the health of now the tight end room and how well those guys are also pass catchers and get out and get in space and create mismatches as well.
I assume that you're his position coach, but how much did Daniel Jackson kind of confide in you last year, and what was that like for him to go through and then to decide that you put in another off season to get back to the point that he was?
And I think Daniel Jackson, what he's doing and what he's gone through since he's been here is tremendous. That kid has no quit. He has a goal in mind, and he's going to get that goal. Obviously, coming off a tough injury last year with the Achilles, he worked his tail off this offseason to get himself back in a position. He's a name that I left out. He is a guy that is going to provide a lot of value for us, no different than he did in 23 early in the year against the Okie State game when he provided a huge spark for us and continues throughout the year. So Daniel Jackson's a guy that provides us a lot of versatility, because when he first got here, he played in the slot. And when I got here, moved him primarily to the outside receiver, but he's learned and he's known both positions. So he's a bigger body player that can go out and play slot outside and be really successful. So continue to keep him healthy. He's going to be big for us.
Another question, too, on Eskildson. Is he a guy that you're looking more like at the Y position right now, or is he a slot, an X, or get into maybe his role a little bit?
Yeah, the beauty about Brett and kind of how we teach it is you come in and you learn a spot, and then as you feel comfortable, we kind of branch you out and keep learning all 3 spots. And Brett's done a really good job of understanding all 3 spots, which helped him get on the field last year for us. His speed and athleticism, he's fast enough to win on the outside, big and strong enough to win on the outside, but also just like how we used Jalen last year to get on safeties and get on their toes and run past people. I mean, he's no different than Dom. He was a 10.52 kid in high school, so he can really roll. So you'll see us move him around quite a bit as well.
I think there's been lots of discussion about Rocco and what's he going to do without Jaden Jalen, and I'm curious, what's it been like for you to kind of manage that transition in the room, which I believe is the first time for you here without those two guys?
Yeah, it's different. Having guys, you lose that much production, but to me, it hasn't been a drop off. And I give a lot of credit to Rocco the way that he is taking this head on from January until now. I mean, those guys with the new transfers, with the younger guys, it was weekly, multiple times. Those guys are coming in and watching film together, seeing it how he sees it, getting those guys running routes on air together, and just figuring out timing. And you can see the work that he put in from January until now is showing up with the connection these guys have, and building that trust with him starting in January until now. So there hasn't been much of a drop off, but a lot of credit to Rocco and how he handled that room and how those guys have kind of gravitated to him.
I think we heard for 4 years about Jalen and 2 for Jaden about just what tone setters they were in terms of what kind of work and preparation it takes to be as good as they were. Do you have to reset that standard in the room, or how does that work when those guys are gone?
No, that's a good question. No, I don't feel like we do. I think, honestly, having those two guys in the room the last couple of years, they set the standard for what I was looking for and made sure that, hey, even if I'm healthy or they're not there or whatever may happen, like this is the standard in the wide receiver room that we are going to try to set the tone in the run game, in the pass game, whatever it may be. Man, we're on special teams, and it's now you're starting to find and feel those guys a little bit more as we get into practice 5 and a little bit further into camp of who are going to be those tone setters. But it's a great chance for some guys to step up in the room, push some guys out of their comfort zone, but they've done a great job.
Coach, I wanted to ask you a little bit more about a third receiver emerging. What is the process? What do those players have to do to not only earn snaps, but to earn targets, right? Because there's a difference between this guy's on the field, but this guy's actually getting the ball thrown to him. What do those guys have to prove to earn that?
We go into it really to earn it. You really have to know what you're doing. You got to be confident in what you're doing. We do a lot of things, a lot of shift trade motions, as you guys know, a lot of tempo stuff to be able to go up there and just execute from any position, okay? For guys in our room, I don't know if it's, and even the whole offense, it's not really who the targets are going to. I mean, yes, a lot of them we tried to tailor last year to the top 2 guys, but this year we feel like we're going to be a lot more balanced, adding in the tight end and healthy rooms. So it's really, man, can you come in, understand what you're doing, play extremely fast, and be confident and be extremely tough in this offense, because that's what we got to be.
And then particularly with Chase Sowell coming in, I know he was a little bit banged up in the spring. What kind of production or improvement have you seen since he was missing some time or limited in times during the spring as you guys are 4 or 5 practices in this fall?
I got to give a lot of credit to him. Him and Rocco and X and those guys, they went in and tackled head on and made sure that when we got to this position, even with them, with him being banged up a little bit in the spring, of making sure when we come back that we're going to be on top of it. And you can see it these first 5 practices. Man, there's not a drop off. He's played fast. He's lined up fast. He's physical. So we're really excited about him and his production, what he's had so far early in camp, and excited to see him grow in the role.
How banged up was Eli Green last year? He had a couple big catches early. Seemed like he'd see the field handful of snaps, maybe here and there.
Yeah.
But what was that journey like for him? Obviously, you have an existing relationship, and he was a 900-yard receiver.
Right. Yeah, he's had a lot of success in his career. Eli banged up with his shoulder, so it was one of those things as a position playing wide receiver. It's a little bit tough to play in your range of motion and your catch radius and stuff like that. But another guy that came in this spring and got it repaired and has done a really good job putting himself in position right now. And he looks like, to me, a completely different player of another year in the offense, okay, learning multiple positions and being able to be just a threat and a kind of a utility there for us of playing all 3 spots.
How much did him getting banged up in that way necessitate, Jalen are going to have big years no matter what, but both 1,000-yard receiver guys, how much did it necessitate them being targeted as much as they were, because you figure he would be the natural third guy given how prolific and successful he'd been before?
Yeah, I think originally it was probably a little bit tough on E just coming in because he goes from being the main target at North Dakota State to potentially being the third guy here. But he embraced it, and that's the thing I love about our room is our guys understand, man, we use the term Mudita all the time, and they know that they're going to have extreme joy for others no matter what happens. Whether it's we're getting 1 million targets or not, those guys are going to be on the field and want to make sure that the thing here is that it's really established that people just want to win football games. It's not about targets. It's not about catches. We want to win and kind of change that standard of what we've had and what they've had in the past of keeping sustained success. And I think that's a big part of it is making sure that no matter what your role is, man, you got to go out and do it to your best of your ability and then kind of expand that role from there.
A quick follow-up to what Rob was asking. Did Green have to have surgery last year?
He did have surgery, yep, right after the season, right after the bowl game, and then he's been back towards the end of spring ball and rolling, and been fully cleared.
Cool. And then what makes Benny a good candidate for a position change?
Benny is going to be extremely tough corner in this league. I think Benny provides a high football IQ. Benny is extremely tough. He's a guy that, again, came in right away, and you could take it from the classroom right to the field, and he could execute it. And that's a big thing for him, is that to play early on our defense, like, you got to be smart. You got to be able to execute different formations, shift trade motions, and he's done a great job handling that. And it's the toughness and length, and no one really wants to go up against a 6'3" corner at all. So he kind of gives you that feel of Darian from last year, of the speed and the size and the length. Now it's just going to be reps for Benny.
Coach, what stood out to you about Xavier Townsend, either in the recruiting process or now that he's here? What kind of jumps off the page to you about him?
What jumps off for me on X is just his work ethic. He's very determined to make sure that his next 2 years he's going to have a lot of success, and that come into learning a whole new offense, right? Learning we're going to ask him to play inside, outside as well, kind of like we did with Jalen. So it's a lot on his plate, and he's handled it really well. It helps having a prior relationship with the quarterback from the recruiting process, which has been great for those two guys. But his work ethic is off the charts, and he's a guy that you got to sometimes say whoa, then go, which is good for us. And I think that plays into the mentality and mindset that we're trying to build in this wide receiver room.